FNaF fan games have been something I wanted to talk about for a while, but due to a lack of hardware to play and record them, I've generally been unable to do so. There's just something so interesting about these fun attempts at development, which vary greatly in quality, that I just can't help but ramble to myself mentally or aloud when watching people play through them. But alas, it appears I may not get a chance to talk about one for until I stop being broke. Alas, Alsaz, Asals. Huh? Oh no, you can't be serious. I'm not that desperate, am I? Surely that's not the only place I can find games to talk about. Upon reconsideration, Scratch will do. Now, when talking about FNaF fan games, it's hard to avoid mentioning the vast infinitive that they make up. This is entirely due to FNaF's simple to replicate style of sit and survive. Actually, I think I made a presentation last year about this.
Hi guys, okay, so welcome to my amazing presentation. It's a presentation by me, yep. So today we're going to be talking about Five Nights at Freddy's fan games. Yeah, you just got pranked, bro. I bet you didn't see that one coming. So what is a FNaF and why is a game fan? Well, you see, a FNaF is a game that takes too long to introduce, but most people know it anyways. If you don't know what it is, then let me explain. Bear. The gameplay of FNaF is fairly simple, thus easily recreatable. It's from that easy to recreate formula that several fan games have emerged, imitating the original game with their own takes on the scene. So here's some fan games that I like. Good luck reading that. I don't know why I made it so hard to read. There's also this thing called the Fazbear fan version. If you basically, Scott Cawthon, creator of FNaF, he went around. He was like, "I'm putting together a team. The end. Thank you for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe."
Yeah, that was the thing. Anyway, the point is that from this multitude of fan games, they're likely to emerge in more places than just GameJolt, the most well-known pub for them, even sporting a FNaF category. Enter Scratch. FNaF fan games on Scratch are the culmination of broke-ass kids wanting to play Bear game, but being broke cannot get spooked by the bear. Thusly, having no time to learn Unity, they resort to Scratch, the free educational game developing site. And yes, I was one of those kids. Now, Scratch, as any kid-oriented brand does, has a set of mascot characters for use in its asset library. These are used as the face-take of the platform, but double as tools for learning in the script editor if you don't have the patience or skill to draw an asset yourself. Man, these bics really make me think, yeah, I'd want him to go boo at me and I go ah. So yeah, that's the topic of today's video. Five Nights at Pico's. Five Nights at Pico's is a game that was made November 21st of 2014. Holy shit, that's roughly a week after FNaF 2. Man says we're committed to this. Published by Danvin, a collaboration account between DATUS3R and Proppy. It was apparently a test to see how well they could remake FNaF on Scratch's 2.0 engine. This was also the only game in the franchise to use bitmap graphics. Couldn't imagine why. Now, while Proppy doesn't seem to have an account, or their account was deleted at some point, DAT, you know what, fuck it, I'm just gonna call him Dottus. Dottus's account holds some earlier projects that predate the Danvin account. So before jumping into the main attraction, I think it would be fun to get a look at what Dottus was up to before boarding the FNaF train. Also, please subscribe if you enjoy this kind of content and would love to see more. I've had very little luck with growth if that wasn't obvious, so subscribing and sharing would go a long way. Let's start with Maze Game. Hopefully it doesn't have a jump scare in it. I see. How about Pico? Maybe that'll have more to it? Guess we know where Five Nights at Pico's at its roots. I'm gonna avoid the Pong games, mainly because I'm still traumatized from my old Pong game that I made on here. Quiz Game may have more to offer though. Moving on. Okay, so I have a confession. I haven't played a FNaF game in years. Well, an actually scary FNaF game anyway. So when going back to play this game, I ended up getting scared a lot more than I'd like to admit. You gonna jump me? Go boo. Boo.
Boogie, boogie.
Mr. Oogie Boogie Man. Oh no!
Oh no!
That actually made me jump. That's only really because of me being a soy boy girl who hasn't played a proper horror game since 2020, which resulted in me hyping myself up too much. As for the actual game, allow me to clarify that I don't dislike the concept. I actually find it to be a really endearing idea to directly take a child-aimed IP and put it into a horror setting. Some of my favorite FNaF fan games are just that, such as the aforementioned Treasure Island and even the infinitive that is the Tubbyland games. This game, however, is much more akin to Five Nights at Sonic's in that it's drawn in low-quality bitmap and essentially just plays as FNaF did, but much more unpolished. Now, the game didn't really strive to be much more than that, so I'll give it a pass for now. Unfortunately, I didn't really want to play FNaF, but less visually trustworthy the whole way through, so, hey, look at that! Boy, isn't it fun to have an easily accessible means of cheating. Yeah, sorry, but the game really turned me off after I noticed that it threw a bunch at me at once and didn't even convey what was happening properly, sticking 2 animatronics on me at once, but neither actually showed up outside the door until 5 AM, despite Terra disappearing from the camera multiple times. It ultimately resulted in me panicking and then shutting the door because I just thought that Terra was there but wasn't being shown by the game. It was rather unnecessarily stressful, not to mention how the power drains way too fast, especially with its passive drain. I even looked into the code and apparently it drains 1% every 9 seconds. So if you were to somehow go through a whole night without touching a thing, you'd still be down 45% by the night's end. And for some reason, the hours each take 1 minute and 8 seconds, which adds 1 minute and 3 seconds to your total time in a night. This is absolutely ridiculous because it makes the game unneededly difficult and unforgiving, while dragging it out and making the whole experience more boring and dreadful than it had to be. Furthermore, Giga is only active from night 3 onward? Then what was the point of her going into her hidey hole every night and looking out of it with a visibly active eye? Who did this? Why? Holy shit, Lydia made a video on Pico's Remastered? It's actually wild. So, I'll admit, I did just data mine for some lore because I did recall the game having some, and I'm something of a theorist myself. So I was curious as to what we could gather from what we were given. Also, I have no idea where to mention this, but the phone guy was literally just Darth Vader, and it's actually hilarious.
So yeah. Welcome.
So the story goes as follows. You're the night watchman of Pico's Palace, a family-friendly eatery with animatronics and iconic electronics to boot. Throughout Night 1, we learned that there were previous employees who had reported the animatronics moving during the night and mysteriously disappeared. Though they reassure you that
They're 98% positive that they just quit without informing us.
The next day, they eat their words, as after reviewing Night 1's camera footage, they discovered that the animatronics do in fact move around at night, and are possible threats.
Seems that the characters of Pico's Palace do move around at night. As we know now, they weren't pulling our legs.
They're actually trying to move you to the day shift because of the news, but cannot until the next week due to issues with scheduling. Felt that one. Complete that with a note from the manager about wasting power, and that's Night 2. Night 3 adds nothing new, but You want to come and do the video? Night 3 adds nothing new, but Night 4, well, you know you're in for a treat when it starts with Buenos Pop-Tarts.
Buenos Pop-Tarts.
So not only do we learn the tragic tale of Phone Vader having failed Spanish, we're also informed that shit gets real tonight, and he's actually super helpful by giving us tips on how to beat the night better and just an overall helpful guy. I can't tell if I love this game ironically or unironically. It's probably a mix of the two. Night 5 brings us the penultimate challenge. Darth Color gives us the okay to not show up to work tomorrow as they've discovered the footage from the previous guard shifts and have concluded that the animatromos may have been up to more devious behavior than previously suspected. Beating the night takes us to our victory screen, showing our paycheck of $180.20, with good old Darthy V tossing in an extra $1,000 for being alive. Actual Giga Chad. Also, you played as Luke fucking Skywalker this whole time? What? The game itself is very rough and had dissuaded me from completing it normally entirely due to its lacking gameplay alone. The visuals, while incredibly dated, are still charming considering the time of release and the platform it was on, but the lacking gameplay did turn me off to what turned out to be an incredibly charming game. The phone calls were kinda basic, but pretty entertaining for what they were. And the sense of humor, while some may find cringy, I find it super adorable and have grown a new fondness for this game because of it. Would I recommend it? Not really. I'd love to say the charming humor and plot makes the gameplay worth getting through, but I don't imagine most would agree to that sentiment. Unfortunately, the unpolished gameplay, while not the worst thing in the world, still makes the game a bit of a subpar experience that you'd probably prefer to see a playthrough of for the phone calls and paycheck, since the game's just an unscary FNaF clone anyways. But I can definitely say that I enjoy the game for what it is. Besides, what's the use of playing a broken game when the devs have gone back and remastered it already? That's gonna do it for this video, folks. If you enjoyed, do be sure to sign that like button and certify that subscribe button because I'd love to make more of these videos. Your support would go miles in terms of allowing me to make more and motivating me to do so, as well as waiver any and all legal liability on our end. So be sure to share this with your local patrons of Pico's Palace, and we'll be seeing you again next week for your remastered shift. Disclaimer, it probably won't be done by next week.
I had to record this with my camera